welcome back to Learning Music with Pat. Last week I went over a lot of the instruments, woodwind instruments that do not have reeds, and I showed examples of them. And I'm going to just review what I did last week, and I'm not going to do it again, but there are a couple of instruments I want to discuss. The Fipple mouthpiece instruments, those that have Fipple mouthpieces, would include the recorders, the melody flutes, tonettes, song flutes, sassoon flutes, penny whistles, the conical wooden plugged penny whistles, and there are also conical instruments that do not have wooden plugged mouthpieces. They have regular Fipple mouthpieces. The Peruvian flutes, Indian flutes, ocarinas. Then we went on to another classification of the Native American flutes, fifes, end-blown flutes, the traditional flutes that we often see, the flutes and the piccolos, and also the pan flute. Now, the one type of flute I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to, I did bring a couple of them in, were the ocarinas. And the ocarinas are an interesting instrument, so I decided that today would be a good time as a follow-up to last week to show you some of the ocarinas that I have and discuss them with you. But I think first I want to share with you the history of the ocarinas. Don't knock them off because they're small and they're little. They can be great instruments. But the ocarina, it goes back to antiquity. They're considered to be a very ancient Indian flute, but they've developed over the ages. So what happens is in China, in India, and a lot of those nations, they developed a wind instrument and they called it a globular flute. A globular flute was one that had a little whistle and you blew into it and there was a little air chamber, and that was the beginning of the ocarina. It did not get the name of ocarina until Italy started producing them, and in the 1860s there was a man, his name is Giuseppe Donati, I believe, an Italian person, and he changed the shape of the ocarinas a little bit, and he changed the name to ocarina instead of globular flute. The ocarina, that name actually stands for little goose. And so they had whistles, little ocarinas, in which they had the whistles, and then the wind chambers were shaped like little animals. And that's what ocarina meant, little goose. So you would blow into this instrument, and the wind chamber would be shaped like a goose or some other instruments. I haven't seen one. I've seen sketches of them, but I haven't actually seen a real one. I haven't seen any sold, but that's the history. Now, after the ocarina, the name stuck, they started changing the shape of the instrument again, and it became more elongated. And in the United States, they really took hold, and they were called the sweet potato ocarina. And this is as close as you're going to get to a sweet potato ocarina. So today, they're still very popular. This flute has been popular for a long time. And don't downgrade them, because even though they're small, they can play quite a bit of music, and some of them are very good. What you see today with the ocarina is they're usually round, or like this one, or squarish like this one. They can be made out of clay. The very early ones, the ancient Indian ones, were made out of clay, and you still can get them out of clay today. Clay, plastic, and hardwood is what you usually get. And so I have collected a few of them. And then after I go with the ocarinas, I'm going to show you this one, which is called a puny tune, which is based like an ocarina, but is a little bit different. So let me go over these ocarinas. This is an ocarina that comes from Peru. I'll just hold it up so you can see it. Made out of clay. Now, I've had Peruvian flutes in here before, so you've had a chance to see them. They're all very brightly colored, and they have nice designs on them. This can be worn. Some of these ocarinas, you can take them anywhere. You can play them anywhere, and some of them are meant to be jewelry. And when I have done music festivals, when I've talked to groups of people about different types of instruments, I've sometimes worn this as a piece of jewelry. It has a cross on it. It's all hand painted. Let me show you the back of it. Remember the Fipple mouthpieces. Let me twist it over like this. I hope you can see this all right. With the Fipple mouthpieces, you have the little slit that you blow into, and you have that labium, that little square that creates the music as it pushes the molecules forward. This labium is in the back instead of the front. It doesn't make any difference where it is. It's going to act the same, but that's where it is. And then you have 2 thumb holes in the back. You put each thumb on it, and then you put your fingers on these 6. There are 6 little tone holes. The fact that it doesn't have a labium in the front gives them a chance to have more time to paint the design. The design of the cross does not get interrupted. Now this one does not play particularly well, but I'm going to pick it up for you and play some of the notes. But you have to get your fingers just exactly right. If you don't get a note. Now, the difficulty in playing an ocarina, if you're playing most woodwind instruments, is that you're playing with your hands side by side. On most instruments, you have your left hand on top, like the recorder, and the right hand on the bottom, and you're playing right down the line. But you can't do this with ocarinas. You have to play with your hands side by side. So let's see what this sounds like. It's kind of a nice tone. It's soft. It's kind of a nice tone, but it is soft. This one was handmade in Peru, as I've mentioned before. Now, this one here is a wooden one. A lot of the ocarinas are made out of hard wood, and they come from various places, and even in the United States they use foreign wood to make some of these. And you can see, if I turn it this way, the little slit where you blow in, it's quite small. I'm not sure that you can pick it up. The labium is in the front, and it has that little slant that most of them do. You have 4 tone holes. These 2 are normal size. These are quite small, but they're small for a purpose. And in the back, you have 2 more tone holes. The difference between the ocarinas and the puny tune is the puny tune, when I get a chance to show it to you, only has 4 holes. The ocarinas have anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 holes on them. They actually have quite a few. So this one here, let me play it. It has a very nice tone, but you got to make sure you get your hands in the right spot, or you won't hear it. So here's the position of my hands. Here's the position of my hands and back, covering the tone hole. Now we'll play it. The reason I say don't count them out is that the hardwood instruments are actually very nice instruments. No matter where you go, if you're going on a camping trip or climbing a mountain or something, if you want a nice little instrument to play, you really can't do much better than one of these ocarinas. They're very nice instruments, and some of them are expensive. These are small, but you can get them a little larger, not very much larger, but say this size. And they can be expensive. The last book I checked, where they were selling ocarinas, they are up to about $100 for the nicer ones. But they play very well. Those nicer ones can play diatonic scales. They can play chromatic scales. They can play regular music. They have a very nice tone. They're in pitch with themselves. They're in pitch with concert pitch, which is A440. The smaller ones aren't so much, but the larger ones are really, really nice instruments, so don't count them out. This one is Celtic, made to be worn, made out of clay. And let me hold it here so you can get a good look at it. There's a cross here, a Celtic cross. It's made not only to be played, but it's made to be a piece of jewelry. That's why it has this little strap on it. You don't need a strap to play an ocarina, but some of them have them, and when they have them, you know, they were made to be just slipped over your neck and to be worn as an instrument and as a piece of jewelry. This is the Celtic cross right here. Looking in the back, it has its symbol on it, There's another tone hole right there. They vary a lot in the number of tone holes and the placement of the tone holes. But this is very breakable, and the reason I don't wear these out, unless I'm doing a music festival and I just want to show them, I don't ever wear them because the clay ones are very easy to break. So let me try blowing into this. The other thing you got to remember is if you wear it, it's probably upside down on your body, so you have to twist it around to get the mouthpiece in the right place. Okay. It has quite a nice tone. Sometimes the small ones aren't necessarily in pitch with themselves, but and so you have to be careful of the little ones. Now here is, I had this here a couple weeks or so ago. This is the mini ocarina. It's probably the smallest instrument outside of the little tiny harmonica I brought in. It's probably the smallest instrument you'll ever see. It has 4 tone holes in the front. The labium is right here. Well, let me hold it here against the white so you can see it better. Is that okay? I hope. The tone holes, put it against the white. The tone holes on the side, the labium, and if you turn it around, the mouthpiece, that very little tiny slit, and in the back, 1 tone hole. This was made in Hong Kong, and I actually have done solos on this. It is so tiny. It's almost like it's not even an instrument, but it's amazing what this little thing can play. It's probably better pitched than some of the larger ones that I have. So let me just do this. It's perfectly in pitch with itself, and can you imagine the quality of tone that comes out of this? This is only like about 1.5 inches big, and it's less than that if you consider the size of it. I mean the side is very narrow, but if you take the length of it from top to bottom, it's no more than 1.5 inches, and so it's a very small one. Then we have, this is the sweet potato ocarina. And it looks like an elongated instrument. They became elongated. This one's made out of plastic. It doesn't play all that well, but you'll notice in the front, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tone holes in the front. As many as some recorders have. This little circle here is just for you to rest a finger on. It's not a key at all. And now if you look in the back, you've got what would be the labium and another tone hole, another place to put your thumb. It's just maybe 4 or 5 inches. This is a plastic one, and I'm going to play it. It doesn't play too well, so if I put my fingers on, this is a finger rest. You don't use it. And put my right hand, this actually fingers closer to a recorder in the sense that you use your 3 fingers on top, your 4 fingers on the bottom. It's very close to what a recorder would do. And in the back, another place for a thumb rest, that's all it's for, and the hole is here for another tone, and this acts as the labium, this hole right here. You wouldn't conveniently have your hand over that anyway, so don't be surprised at the lack of brilliance of this one. Very soft, not bad, but very, very soft. So these are the ocarinas that I have. And now I want to turn my attention to this instrument, which is called a puny tune. This is a puny tune. It was invented by Brian Mumford. It's all handcrafted. He used the basics of the ocarina to make it. It only has 4 tone holes, and it comes with a very, very interesting book, kind of a comical book, in which he has it drawn out like it's an animal. It's got arms and legs and so forth, and the title of the book is The Care and Feeding of Your Puny Tune, like it was your personal pet. And the way they have it drawn, it's really quite hilarious. I didn't bring it in, of course, because it's all copyrighted, and I didn't have time to ask permission to use it, but I can tell you about it. This is the labium right here. And this, if I turn it this way, is the slit where you put your mouth, where you blow into it. And it only has 4 tone holes, and that's the big difference. It's made out of hardwood. It has 4 tone holes. If you counted the tone holes on these other ocarinas, you'll find there's a lot more. And I did count them for the sweet potato ocarina. So, let me pick this up. It's not very big. This one is 4.5 inches long. They do have a larger one that's 5 or 6 inches long. And it's kind of funny the way they talk about it, because in the book they say, it is in pitch, it has good clear tones, it's very crisp, and it's in pitch with itself. Unfortunately, however, it's not really in pitch with anything else. So it would be hard to play it in an orchestra. However, it is kind of fun to play on itself. The difficulty in playing is not blowing into it, but these tone holes on the side, you have to put your 2 thumbs in back, and there's nothing to rest them on. This is the back, it's just nothing there. But you have to twist your wrist. And in the end, let me just turn around. I hope you can see that. This is what it's going to look like. Your thumbs in the back and your hands, one on each side. And so you're really pushing your wrist back and your hands in a different awkward position in order to play it. The tone is indeed crisp and nice, just like they say. And if you read the book to it, they'll say something like, it's not concert pitch. The tone is in pitch with itself. The instrument is in pitch with itself, so every note matches every other note. If it's supposed to be a step, it's a step. But the thing is, it's not concert pitch, so it's not like it's tuned to A440. Now, this is... the way they express it in the book, it's kind of funny. I wish I could have brought that in. But they'll say the 4.5 inch one, which is what this is tuned near the key of C. Well, my question would be, how far is near? Are you talking 1 step off, 2 steps off? It does make quite a difference, Or is it going to be flat a couple of steps, or is it going to be sharp a couple of steps? What's it going to be? It's not going to be on pitch. So if you're going to play it, you've somehow got the half whole notes and transposed to get it into the pitch that the orchestra is in. Now, all instruments are tuned or should be tuned to A440. And what that means is, if you pluck an A string on a violin, it will vibrate at 440 vibrations per second, and that gives you the tone of A. And so everybody tunes their instrument to A440. Instruments are made so that they can play in A440, no problem. You may have to tune your instrument up or down a little bit because you might be a little flat or you might be a little sharp, but you can hit A440 without any trouble. And that's important. This you're not guaranteed. So you can either tear your hair out and say, I wish it was in pitch, or you can just consider it charming, which is what most people do. It's really quite a cute little instrument. So as I've said before, don't just count these ocarinas out. My goal is to get a larger one, a really nice one, and a larger one, because the tone is very nice. And you can stick them anywhere, except the clay ones, you'd have to be careful. But you can stick most of them anywhere. They're considered to be a traveling instrument. And in World War II, The sweet potato ocarina was mass produced by the United States government to give to soldiers as a morale booster. So a lot of people have played these. They're not hard to play. They're not hard to play into. And with a nice one, you can get full scales, chromatic scales, play songs. And it's really worth having one if you're interested in it. So we're almost getting out of time. I could start something else, but I think maybe I shouldn't because I don't have a whole lot of time to start something out. So if you have an interest in music and if you want to get an ocarina, go to a music store. They can order one for you. I think you won't be disappointed. I think you'll be very happy with them once you get the hang of it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we're going to start something else next week. I'm going to go into questions I have been asked about music, about preparing to take lessons, about when a person is ready to take lessons, and if you need to have piano background before you take lessons in woodwinds, and a number of other questions that I have received. So I hope you will return next week. Please join me then.